The old wooden house sat quiet in the mountains of South Korea. Kim Jae-ho walked slowly around his small garden, checking each plant with careful eyes. The sun was setting behind the tall peaks, painting the sky in colors of orange and pink. This was his favorite time of day. For 12 years, he had lived alone in this hidden valley. No roads led here. No neighbors bothered him. Only the sound of wind through pine trees and the gentle splash of water in his pond broke the silence. This was exactly how he wanted it. Jae-ho stopped beside his koi pond and smiled. The fish swam in lazy circles, their bright colors flashing. Beneath the surface, he had built this pond himself, stone by stone, during his first winter here. The water was clear and deep, fed by a small stream that flowed down from the mountain above. People in the nearby village sometimes talked about the strange man who lived in the old valley. They said he was crazy, or maybe dangerous. Some claimed he was a ghost. But Jae-ho knew the truth was much simpler. He was just a man who wanted to be left alone. He had not always been this way. Once, Dr. Kim Jae-ho had been one of the most brilliant scientists in South Korea. He had worked for the government on secret projects that could change the world. His laboratory had been filled with advanced computers and machines that most people could not understand. Other scientists had looked up to him with respect and fear, but that life was gone now. The world believed Dr. Kim Jae-ho had died in a terrible accident. The official reports said an explosion had destroyed his laboratory and killed everyone inside. His family had held a funeral. His colleagues had mourned. His name had been carved on a memorial stone. None of them knew he had escaped. None of them knew he was still alive. Hiding in these mountains like a wounded animal, Jae-ho walked to the small stone circle that stood near his pond. The ancient stones were old, much older than anything humans had built in this region. He had found them here when he first arrived, covered in moss and forgotten by time. Something about them felt important, though he could not explain why. Sat on the grass beside the stones and began his evening meditation. This was his daily ritual, as important as eating or sleeping. For 1 hour each night, he would clear his mind and try to forget the memories that haunted him. The accident had not been an accident. His experiment had worked too well. For a brief moment, he had touched something beyond normal human understanding. He had seen the truth about what people could become, and it had terrified him so much that he had destroyed everything and run away. Even now, 12 years later, he could feel it stirring inside him. The power that made him different, the ability that could change everything. He had built special machines around his house to hide this power from the world. The machines hummed quietly day and night, keeping his secret safe. As darkness fell, Jae-ho opened his eyes and looked up at the stars. They seemed brighter here in the mountains, away from the city lights. He often wondered if there was life among those distant suns, and if those beings struggled with the same questions that tormented him. What was the purpose of consciousness? Why did thinking creatures exist in a universe so vast and empty? What happened when a species gained the power to reshape reality itself? These thoughts had driven him to his mountain exile. These questions had no easy answers. A shooting star streaked across the sky, bright and fast. Then another. Meteors were not uncommon, but these lights seemed different. They moved with purpose, as if they were being guided. More lights appeared. 5, 6, 7 of them, all falling toward his valley. They were not burning like normal meteors. Instead, they glowed with colors that seemed impossible. Blues that were deeper than the ocean. Reds that pulsed like heartbeats. Greens that reminded him of growing things. The lights were coming straight for his pond. Jae-ho jumped to his feet and ran toward his house. His machines were beeping and flashing warnings. Every screen showed the same message. Massive energy. Readings approaching. The power levels were beyond anything he had ever seen. He grabbed his emergency kit and turned back toward the pond. If these were weapons, he needed to be ready. If they were something else, he needed to know what. The first light hit the water with a sound like thunder. Steam rose from the pond as waves splashed against the stones. The second light followed, then the third. Each impact sent shockwaves through the ground that made his house shake. His machines began to fail. The dampeners that had hidden his power for 12 years sparked and died. For the first time since his escape, Kim Jae-ho was completely exposed. To the world, the water in his pond glowed with an inner light. Something was moving beneath the surface. Something large. A head emerged from the steam. It was covered in scales that looked like crystal, each one holding tiny stars. The creature was beautiful and terrible at the same time. It looked like a dragon from ancient stories, but its eyes held intelligence that was older than human civilization. Another creature rose from the water. This one had wings of fire that did not burn, and feathers that sparkled like jewels. Phoenix. Impossible, but real. One by one, 9 beings emerged from his ruined pond. A wolf whose fur seemed to contain galaxies. A serpent that moved through the air like water. A tiger whose stripes shifted and changed. An eagle with eyes like black holes. Turtle carrying what looked like a small universe on its shell. Bear that seemed to exist in multiple places at once. Crane that danced between moments of time. They were creatures of legend, beings that should not exist in any rational world. But here they stood, dripping with pond water and starlight, looking at him with eyes that held the wisdom of ages. The dragon spoke first. Its voice was like music played on instruments made of crystal and silver. "We have searched for you across time and space, Kim Jae-ho. We are the 9 guardians of the cosmic threshold. You are the one we have been waiting for." The other creatures moved closer, forming a circle around him. It's one they lowered their heads in what could only be described as a bow. "Alpha," they said together, their voices creating harmonies that made the air itself vibrate. "We have found you at last." Jae-ho stared at them, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. These creatures knew his name. They had been looking for him. They were calling him by a title he did not understand. "What do you want from me?" he asked, surprised that his voice remained steady. The dragon lifted its head and fixed him with eyes that held the light of distant stars. "We want to help you become what you are meant to be. The universe is changing, and your species must change with it. You are the key, Kim Jae-ho. You are the bridge between what humans are and what they can become." Above them, the stars seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if the entire cosmos was waiting for his answer. The dragon stepped forward, water dripping from its crystal scales. Each drop that hit the ground glowed for a moment before fading. Jae-ho had seen many impossible things in his life, but nothing like this. "My name is Yeon-sil," the dragon said, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I speak for the 9 guardians. We have traveled across galaxies to find you." Jae-ho looked at each creature in turn, the phoenix with its burning wings, the wolf whose fur held tiny stars, a serpent that seemed to swim through air. Each one was beautiful and frightening at the same time. "You are making a mistake," he said quietly. "I am nobody special, just a man who wants to be left alone." The phoenix laughed, a sound like crackling fire. "You call yourself nobody special? You're Kim Jae-ho, the human who touched the cosmic? Web 12 years ago, your mind opened doors that had been closed for millions of years." "That was an accident," Jae-ho said quickly. "I destroyed everything. I ran away because I was afraid." "Fear is normal," said the wolf, his voice deep and warm. "My name is Hae-won. I have hunted across dimensions for creatures like you. Fear means you understand the power you carry." The turtle moved slowly to the edge of the pond. Jae-ho could see what looked like tiny planets spinning in perfect circles. "I am Yoon-kyeon," she said. "I have lived for longer than your sun has burned. I've seen many species face the choice you face now." "What choice?" Jae-ho asked. Yeon-sil spread her wings. The crystals in her scales began to glow brighter. "The choice to help your species take its next step. Humans are not what they appear to be. Kim Jae-ho, you are sleeping gods, waiting to wake up." The serpent coiled through the air above them. "I am Dong-su," he said. "Swim through the dark matter between stars. I have seen the truth about consciousness. Most beings in the universe use only tiny pieces of their minds, but humans have the potential to use all of it." "Evolution built walls in your minds," added the tiger, her stripes shifting from orange to silver. I am Hiram. These walls keep your power locked away. Without them, a single human thought could reshape reality. Jeho felt a chill run down his spine. This was what he had feared for 12 years. That is exactly why I stay hidden. That kind of power is too dangerous. The eagle flew in a circle above the group. I am Kyung Ho, he said. I see across time and space. I have watched civilizations rise and fall. Power is not dangerous by itself. It is only dangerous when it is used without wisdom. The bear, who had been silent until now, spoke in a voice like distant thunder. I am Musiok. I sleep between moments of time. My dreams, I have seen what your species can become. You could bring peace to the galaxy, or you could destroy everything. The choice depends on who leads you. The crane danced between the stones, her movements graceful and precise. I am Minji, she said. I dance between different realities. In some timelines, humans discover their power too late. In others, they never discover it at all. But in the best timelines, they find a guide who helps them use their gifts wisely. Jeho sat down heavily on one of the ancient stones. Want me to be that guide? But I am not a leader. I am a coward who ran away from his responsibilities. You ran away because you were alone, Yansil said gently. You had no one to help you understand what was happening. But now you have us. She gestured to the other guardians. We are the last gift of the Builders, an ancient race that once guided young species toward enlightenment. They created us too. Find beings like you and help them fulfill their destiny. The Builders, Jeho asked. They lived long ago, Dongsu explained. Before humans existed. Before most stars were born. They had the same power you have, but they used it to create. Instead of destroy? When they knew their time was ending, they made us to continue their work. Hei-wan padded closer to Jeho. These stone circles around your world are not human creations. They are gateways left by the Builders. They have been waiting for someone who could activate them. Jeho looked at the stones around him with new understanding. The energy I felt from them, that was not my imagination. No, Yansil confirmed. The gateways recognize your potential. They have been calling to you, even in your sleep. That is why you chose to live here. The Phoenix, who had been listening quietly, suddenly raised her head. But we are not the only ones who have noticed your awakening. Others are coming. Others? Jeho asked. The hegemony, Hiram said, her stripes turning dark red. Galactic empire that has ruled for thousands of years. They fear species like yours because awakened beings cannot be controlled. Kyung Ho landed on one of the stones. Their ships moving through space. They detected the energy surge when we arrived. They know something has changed on Earth. How long do we have? Jeho asked. Dae-Jun said sadly. Maybe less. The hegemony does not waste time when they see a threat. Usiok emerged from his temporal hiding place. They will offer your leaders a choice. Submit to their rule or face destruction. Most species choose submission. But humans are different, Minji said, still dancing between realities. In the timelines where they awaken, they choose to fight. The question is whether they will. Be ready. Jeho felt the weight of their words settling on his shoulders. You want me to prepare my entire species for war against a galactic empire? How is that possible? Not war, Yansil corrected. Transcendence. The hegemony rules through fear and superior technology. But consciousness is more powerful than any weapon. If humans can awaken their minds, they can defend themselves. Gateways are the key, Dongsu added. Link them together, and you can share awakening across your whole world. But it must be done carefully. Too much power too quickly will destroy unprepared minds. Hei-wan looked toward the sky, and it must be done soon. My senses tell me that human military forces are already moving toward this location. Your machines may have failed, but your government has other ways of watching. Jeho stood up slowly. For 12 years he had lived in peace, tending his garden and feeding his fish. Now that simple life was ending. He looked at the 9 guardians, these impossible creatures who had traveled across the universe to find him. If I agree to help, he said, what happens to me? You become what you were meant to be, Yansil said. The Alpha, the bridge between human and cosmic consciousness. Your individual self will remain, but you will also become something greater. And if I refuse, the Guardians exchanged glances. It was Minji who answered. Then your species faces the hegemony alone. And in every timeline where that happens, humanity loses. Above them, the stars seemed to pulse with urgency. In the distance, Jeho could hear the sound of helicopters approaching. His hidden life was over, whether he wanted it to be or not. Then I guess I have no choice, he said quietly. Yeah. Han-Sil smiled, and for the first time, Jeho saw hope in her ancient eyes. Everyone has a choice, Kim Jeho. You are choosing to help your species become what it was meant to be. That is the choice of a true alpha. The sound of helicopters grew louder. The first test was about to begin. The helicopters circled overhead like angry wasps. Jeho could see armed soldiers inside, their weapons pointed down at his small valley, but he was no longer afraid. Something inside him was changing, growing stronger with each passing moment. The transformation has begun, Yenzel said, watching him carefully. Your mind is opening to possibilities you never imagined. Ah! Jeho felt it too. Thoughts that were not his own brushed against his consciousness. He could sense the confusion of the pilots above, the excitement of the soldiers, even the fear of small animals hiding in the forest. The world had become transparent to him. This is what I was afraid of, he said, pressing his hands against his temples. I can feel everything. Hei-Wan moved to his side. The awakening is always overwhelming at first, but we are here to guide you. Trust us. The largest helicopter began to descend toward the clearing near his house.
Ow.
Through the open door, Jeho saw a woman in a white lab coat. Even from this distance, he recognized her immediately. Soyoung, he whispered. Dr. Park Soyoung had been his research partner 12 years ago. She had been the only person who truly understood his work. When the accident happened, she had been the one to search through the ruins of his laboratory. Looking for any trace of him? Someone you know? Kyung-ho asked, landing on a nearby tree branch. My former colleague never believed I was dead. Jeho watched as the helicopter touched down. If she is here, that means the government knows. Exactly what happened. The helicopter doors opened. Soyoung stepped out, followed by two other people. One was a tall man in military uniform, the other a young woman carrying electronic equipment. They approached slowly, their eyes wide with wonder at the sight of the 9 Guardians. Kim Jeho Soyoung called out, I knew you were alive. Had been waiting 12 years for this moment. She stopped about 10 meters away, staring at him with a mixture of joy and amazement. You look exactly the same. How is that possible? Many things are possible now, Jeho replied. Soyoung, meet the 9 Guardians. They have come to prepare humanity for what is coming. The military man stepped forward. I am Colonel Kim Taman. Director Park has told me about your research. We need to talk. The young woman raised her scanning device. The energy readings are incredible, she said. I am Dr. Lee Mi-son. I study theoretical alien contact. These creatures, are they really from another galaxy? From many galaxies, Dongsu said, coiling through the air above them. We have traveled across the universe to find your alpha. Mi-sun nearly dropped her equipment. It talked to me. It actually talked to me. We talk to all thinking beings. Young Kyun said gently. Language is just organized thought. Once you understand consciousness, all communication becomes possible. Taman kept his hand near his weapon, but did not draw it. What do you want with Earth? Are you planning to invade us? The invasion is already coming, Hiram said, her stripes flashing red. But not from us. The hegemony has detected your alpha's awakening. Their ships are crossing the void between stars. Soyoung moved closer to Jeho. What is she talking about? What is the hegemony? Before anyone could answer, the sky above them began to change. The stars seemed to twist and bend, and a voice spoke from nowhere and everywhere at once. Attention, primitive beings of the planet you call Earth. I am Commander Feltar of the Hegemony Third Fleet. You harbor a dangerous aberration among your species. Surrender the entity known as Kim Jeho, and your world will be spared. The voice was cold and mechanical, but underneath it, Jeho could hear something else. Fear. The hegemony was afraid of him. "We do not negotiate with threats," Taman said, raising his weapon toward the sky. "Your weapons cannot harm us," the voice continued. "We exist in dimensions beyond your understanding. But we offer you a choice. Give us the aberration, and we will allow your species to continue existing under our protection. Refuse and face extinction." Donghan, the phoenix, spread his wings of fire. "Show yourself, coward. Face us directly instead of hiding in the void." The air in front of them began to shimmer. A figure materialized, tall and thin, with skin like polished metal and eyes that burned with cold light. It wore armor that seemed to be made of crystallized space itself. "I am Veltar," the figure said. "I have conquered 17 species in the past century. Your primitive world will offer no challenge." "You are wrong," Jeho said, stepping forward. To his surprise, his voice was calm and strong. "Humanity is not primitive. We're just sleeping." Veltar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "One partially awakened human does not make a species dangerous. You're alone, aberration. Your people cannot help you." "He is not alone," Yansil said, moving to stand beside Jeho. "And his people are stronger than you think." The other guardians formed a protective circle around their alpha, but Jeho realized that fighting this scout would solve nothing. The real hegemony fleet was still coming, and individual combat would not be enough to stop them. "Sawyung," he said, turning to his old friend. "Do you remember our theoretical models about consciousness networks? The ones we never dared to?" Tess' eyes widened with understanding. "Quantum entanglement, experiments. You think you can link human minds together?" "Not just link them," Jeho said. "Awaken them. The gateways can broadcast the awakening signal across the entire planet. But I need help." Misson looked up from her equipment. "The energy signatures are off the charts. Whatever you are planning, it will be visible from space." "Good," Jeho said. "Let them see what humanity can become." Veltar raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Hay-1 howled. The sound was not heard, but felt, a vibration that passed through dimensions. The alien scout flickered and became transparent. "You cannot banish me forever," Veltar said, as he faded. "My fleet approaches. In 3 days, this world will burn." When he vanished completely, the sky returned to normal. But everyone could feel the change in the air. War was coming. 3 days, Taman said grimly. "Can you awaken enough humans in 3 days to make a difference?" "I do not know," Jeho admitted. "But I have to try." Sawyung pulled out her tablet. "I can contact research stations around the world. If there are other gateways, we can coordinate the awakening." "There are 13 active gateways," Minji said, dancing between realities. "Each one can awaken thousands of minds, but the process is dangerous. Not every human consciousness can handle the expansion. How many will we lose?" Jeho asked. "Unknown," Kungho said sadly. "Perhaps 1 in 100, perhaps more." Jeho closed his eyes. To save humanity, he would have to risk destroying some of them. It was a terrible choice, but the alternative was worse. "Begin the preparations," he said. "Contact every government, every military, every scientist who might help. Tell them the truth about what is coming." "And if they do not believe us?" Taman asked. Jeho looked at the 9 guardians. These impossible creatures who had traveled across the universe to find him, then show them. Let them see what their world is about to become. Above them, the stars seemed to pulse with anticipation. The awakening was about to begin. The next morning brought chaos to Earth, Sawyung had spent the entire night making phone calls to research centers around the world. Government officials, military leaders, and scientists received the same impossible message. Humanity was about to face an alien invasion, and their only hope was to awaken psychic powers they never knew they had. Most people thought it was a joke. Some believed it was a terrorist threat. But a few remembered the old stories about Dr. Kim Jae-ho and his mysterious experiments. These people began to listen. Jae-ho stood in the ancient stone circle, his hands pressed against the central gateway. The alien metal felt warm under his touch, responding to his presence. Through it, he could sense the other gateways scattered. Across Earth, 12 more circles of power, waiting to be activated. The network is almost ready, Yansil said. But the process will change you forever. Are you prepared for that? I stopped being the man I was the moment you arrived, Jeho replied. Now I just need to become what humanity needs. Damon approached with his radio crackling. Sir, we have a problem. The president wants to negotiate with the aliens. He thinks we can make a deal. There's no deal to be made, Hay1 growled. The hegemony does not negotiate. They conquer. Soon looked up from her instruments. I am detecting massive energy signatures in deep space. Multiple ships, each one larger than our biggest cities. The main fleet, Kyung-ho said, circling overhead. They will arrive in 2 days. Saw Young walked over to Jeho, her face pale with worry. The other research teams are having trouble. Some of the gateways are not responding. Others are buried. Under cities, or lost in the ocean? We work with what we have, Jeho said. How many can we activate? 7, maybe 8 if we are lucky. That will have to be enough. Suddenly, the air above them began to shimmer again. But this time, instead of one figure, dozens of alien shapes appeared. They looked like Veltar, but smaller, carrying weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Surrender now, one of them commanded. This is your final warning. Instead of answering, Jeho placed both hands on the gateway. Power flowed through him like lightning, connecting his mind to the cosmic network that linked all consciousness. For a moment, he could feel every thinking being on Earth. Billions of human minds, sleeping and unaware of their potential. Begin. The awakening, he said. The Guardians took their positions around the stone circle. Each one placed a claw, wing, or paw on one of the ancient stones. The gateway began to glow with inner light. The aliens raised their weapons, but Dong Han moved. Faster. The phoenix launched himself into the sky, his burning wings leaving trails of fire, struck the first alien soldier, and the creature dissolved into sparks of light. They are energy beings, Misun shouted. Physical matter held together by consciousness. Then we fight consciousness with consciousness, Jeho said. He pushed more power into the gateway. Across the world, the other stone circles began to respond. In Egypt, a research team felt their gateway come alive beneath the desert sand. England, ancient stones that tourists visited every day suddenly blazed with cosmic fire. In Japan, scientists watched in amazement as a circle of rocks on a remote mountain began to sing with alien music. The awakening signals spread like ripples in a pond. In New York, a businessman felt his mind expand as he walked to work. Suddenly he could read the thoughts of everyone around him. In London, a teacher discovered she could move objects with her mind. In Tokyo, a student found he could see through walls and across great distances. But not everyone was ready for such power. Some minds, touched by the awakening energy, simply shut down. Others went mad from the sudden expansion of consciousness. Emergency rooms around the world began to fill with people who had collapsed or started speaking in languages that did not exist. The casualties are beginning, Yang Kyung said sadly. Some humans cannot handle the transformation. How many? Jeho asked, even though he dreaded the answer. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. Jeho felt each loss like a knife in his heart. These people were dying because of his choice, but he forced himself to continue. The alternative was the death of everyone. The alien soldiers attacked in waves. Hiram, the cosmic tiger, leaped among them with claws that could cut through dimensions. Dongsu, the serpent, wrapped himself around their energy forms and drained their power. Each guardian fought with abilities that defied understanding, but more aliens kept appearing. Behind them, something much larger began to take shape in the sky. Mothership, Taman said, pointing upward, the size of a mountain. The massive vessel descended slowly, blocking out the sun. Weapons ports opened along its hull, each one capable of destroying entire cities. This was not a scouting force anymore. This was the real invasion. Die, primitives of Earth. A new voice boomed from the ship. I am Admiral Zexnoth of the Hegemony. Warfleet, You have refused our generous offer.
Ow!
Now you will face the consequences. Energy beams lanced down from the mothership, striking mountains and forests. Where they hit, nothing remained but glass and ash. The display of power was meant to terrify, and it worked. Around the world, human governments began to panic, but something else was happening too. The awakened humans were finding each other. In every major city, people with new abilities were gathering together. They could feel the psychic network that connected them to Jeho and the Guardians. They knew, without being told, that they had to fight. In Seoul, a group of awakened citizens faced down alien scouts with powers of telekinesis and energy projection. In Berlin, humans who could phase through solid matter rescued trapped civilians from alien attacks. In Cairo, people who could manipulate gravity lifted debris and threw it at enemy ships. The resistance is forming, Young said, monitoring reports from around the world. But they need coordination. They need leadership. They have it, Jeho said. Through the psychic network, he could guide every awakened human on Earth. He could share knowledge, coordinate attacks, and provide the tactical information they needed to fight beings from advanced civilizations. But the effort was exhausting. Each connection took part of his strength. Each shared thought drained his energy. He could feel himself becoming something less human and more like a living computer, processing thousands of minds at once. The Admiral is preparing something, Kung Ho warned. I can see weapons charging that could destroy continents. Then we stop him now, Jeho said. He reached deeper into the gateway's power, drawing on energy reserves he did not know he had. The other gateways around the world pulsed in response, sending their own power to join his. For the first time in human history, the entire species was connected by a single consciousness. All awakened humans, Jeho said, his voice carried. Instantly, to every mind on the planet, this is our moment. Show them what humanity can become. Around the world, 10 million newly awakened humans turn their faces to the sky. Their combined will focused like a laser beam on the alien mothership overhead. Admiral Zexnoth laughed as he prepared to fire his ultimate weapon. Your pitiful resistance ends now. But when he pulled the trigger, nothing happened. The ship's weapons had been disabled by a power he did not understand. 10 million human minds working together had reached into his systems and simply turned them off. Impossible, the Admiral whispered. No, Jeho said, his voice somehow reaching the alien's consciousness across space and dimension. This is what we have always been capable of. You just gave us a reason to remember. The real battle was about to begin. Admiral Zexnoth stared at his control panels in disbelief. Every weapon system on his massive ship had gone dead. Across his fleet, other captains were reporting the same impossible situation. Somehow, the primitive humans had reached into their technology and turned it off. Reboot all systems, he ordered. Emergency protocols now. But even as his engineers worked frantically, more human minds joined the psychic network. The awakening was spreading faster than anyone had expected. People who had never believed in supernatural powers suddenly found themselves able to bend reality with their thoughts. On Earth, the battle raged in every major city. Choi Woo-jin, a former soldier from Busan, discovered he could walk through walls and manipulate gravity. He led a team of awakened humans against alien ground forces that had landed near the port. His ability to phase through solid matter made him nearly impossible to hit. While his gravity powers let him crush enemy weapons with a thought and soul, Dr. Shin Hai-jen used her awakened mind to interface directly with computer systems. She had been a quantum physicist before the awakening, but now she could touch subatomic particles with her consciousness. She turned the city's entire electronic network into a weapon, using traffic lights and cell phone towers to disrupt alien communication. The Guardians fought alongside these new human warriors. Yanseal coordinated the global resistance through her crystalline scales, each one acting like a cosmic communication device. Dong Haiyan created time shields around major population centers, slowing down alien attacks until defenders could respond. Haewon hunted enemy commanders across multiple dimensions, Howl tracking them through space itself, but the hegemony was not helpless. They had been fighting cosmic wars for thousands of years. When their technology failed, they adapted quickly. "We cannot use our ships," Admiral Zexnoth declared. "Then we fight with pure energy. All vessels, prepare for consciousness warfare." The alien fleet began to glow with a different kind of light. Instead of firing energy weapons, they projected waves of mental force designed to shatter human minds. The awakened humans felt the assault like hammers against their skulls. Psychic attacks, Saul Young warned from the command center they had set up in Jeho's valley. "They are trying to break our network." Jeho gritted his teeth as alien thoughts invaded his consciousness. The hegemony's mental warriors were experienced and ruthless. They knew exactly how to cause maximum pain and confusion. They had underestimated human determination. "Link deeper," he told the awakened humans around the world. "Do not fight alone. We are stronger together." Psychic network expanded and strengthened. Instead of 10 million separate minds, humanity began to function as a single consciousness with 10 million parts. The alien mental attacks, designed to break individual wills, became harmless against this unified force. But the strain was enormous. Jeho could feel his individual identity dissolving into the collective. He was becoming less Kim Jeho and more a living focal point for human consciousness. The transformation was necessary, but it was also terrifying. "You are losing yourself," Yongqing warned him. "If you merge completely with the network, you may never come back." "I know," Jeho replied. "But if I do not go deeper, we cannot win this war." Around the world, the tide of battle was turning. In London, awakened humans discovered they could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. Lee Junho, a mathematics teacher, found he could rewrite the equations that governed physics in small areas. He used this power to make alien soldiers, too heavy to move or too light to maintain solid form. In New York, Park Soo-jin, an artist, learned to paint with pure energy. Her brush strokes in the air created barriers that alien weapons could not penetrate. She covered entire city blocks with protective shields, made of crystallized imagination. The hegemony responded by calling in reinforcements from across their empire. Ships arrived from a dozen different star systems, each one carrying warriors from species that had already been conquered. These alien soldiers had been fighting for the hegemony for generations, their own psychic abilities honed by constant warfare. "We count over 300 ships now," Taemin reported, "and more arriving every hour." "It does not matter," Haewon said, his starlit fur bristling with anger. "Numbers mean nothing when consciousness is the battlefield." But even as he spoke, the cosmic wolf knew the situation was becoming desperate. The hegemony's reinforcements included creatures that existed partially outside normal reality. Some could attack through dreams. Others could possess human minds directly. A few could manipulate time itself, undoing human victories before they happened. "We need to end this quickly," Kung Ho observed from his high vantage point. "The longer the war continues, the more advantages the enemy gains." Jeho made a decision that would change everything. Instead of fighting defensively, he began to reach out across space toward the hegemony fleet itself. If human consciousness could disable their weapons, perhaps it could do much more. "What are you doing?" Soyoung asked, watching the energy readings spike beyond anything they had recorded. "Going to the source," Jeho replied. "The hegemony rules through fear and superior technology, but consciousness is more fundamental than either of those things." He pushed his awareness beyond Earth's atmosphere, beyond the fleet of enemy ships, out into the vast network of civilizations that made up the hegemony empire. What he found there shocked him. Most of the hegemony's subjects were not willing allies. They were enslaved species, forced to fight for their conquerors through mental conditioning and technological implants. Their natural psychic abilities had been suppressed or redirected to serve the Empire's goals. "They are prisoners," Jeho said with sudden understanding. "The entire hegemony is built on enslaved consciousness." "Then free them," Yansil said. Simply, it was an enormous risk. To break the mental chains that bound millions of alien minds would require Jeho to expose his own consciousness to direct attack from the hegemony's most powerful psionics. If they could destroy his mind while he was extended across space, The human network would collapse instantly, but the alternative was a war that humanity might not win. The hegemony had resources from thousands of worlds. Earth had only its awakened population and the will to be free. "Cover me, Jeho," said to the Guardians. "This is going to hurt." He reached out with every fiber of his being, touching the minds of enslaved species across the galaxy. Warrior poets from the Crimson Nebula, who had been forced to forget their art. Peaceful philosophers from the crystal worlds, who had been turned into living weapons. Billions of beings who had given up hope of ever being free. To each one, he offered the same gift that the Guardians had brought to Earth, the chance to remember what they truly were. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the hegemony, fleet-enslaved crew members began to rebel against their masters. Ships that had been fighting humanity suddenly turned their weapons on other hegemony vessels. The Empire's perfect order collapsed into chaos as suppressed. Consciousness exploded into freedom. Admiral Zexnoth watched his empire crumble in real time. Impossible. The control implants cannot be broken. Consciousness cannot be chained forever. Jeho's voice echoed through every ship in the fleet. "Your empire ends here," but the victory came at a terrible cost. The effort of freeing so many minds across such vast distances had pushed Jeho beyond his limits. He could feel his individual self scattered across the galaxy, spread too thin. To maintain coherence, "Come back," Soyoung pleaded, watching his vital signs fade on her instruments. "Cannot," Jeho whispered. "Too far? Too much?" The Guardians surrounded him, pouring their own life force into his fading consciousness. "You are our alpha," Yancel said urgently. "You cannot abandon your people now." "Not abandoning," Jeho managed to say, "becoming something new." The war was ending, but the transformation was just beginning. Jeho's body lay motionless in the center of the ancient stone circle. His breathing was so shallow that Soyoung had to watch carefully to see his chest move. The machines around him showed brain activity unlike anything ever recorded. Consciousness was scattered across the galaxy, touching millions of awakened minds. "Is he dying?" Tommen asked quietly. "It is becoming something beyond death," Yancil replied. "But the process is dangerous. If his human core is lost, he will exist only as pure consciousness. He will save the galaxy but lose himself forever." The 9 Guardians formed a protective circle around their alpha. Each one channeled their cosmic power into the gateway beneath him. The ancient stones pulsed with energy that made the air itself sing. This was the moment they had been created. For billions of years ago, around the world, the awakened humans felt their leaders struggle. In Seoul, Shin Haijin stopped her work with the city's computers and turned her attention to the psychic network. In London, Lee Junho abandoned his mathematical manipulations to add his strength to the collective effort. Across every continent, 10 million awakened minds focused on a single goal, bringing their alpha home. But Jeho was fighting a different battle. In the space between galaxies, his consciousness confronted the true masters of the hegemony. These were beings of pure thought, ancient entities that had given up their physical forms eons ago. They ruled through mental domination, and they were furious that their empire was collapsing. "You have destroyed the order of the universe," one of them spoke directly into his mind. "Billions will die in the chaos you have created." "Billions. We're already dying under your rule," Jeho replied. "At least now they die free." The psychic battle was unlike anything he had ever experienced. These entities had been practicing mental warfare since before Earth existed. They attacked his memories, trying to make him forget who he was. They showed him visions of humanity destroying itself with awakened power. They offered him godhood if he would help them rebuild their empire. But Jeho had something they did not understand. He was not just an individual consciousness. He was connected to every awakened human on Earth, and through them, to the fundamental hope that drove all thinking beings toward freedom. "You call us primitives," he said to the ancient entities, "but we have something you lost long ago. Remember what it means to care for others." Back on Earth, the tide of liberation was spreading beyond anything the Guardians had expected. The freed alien species were not just rebelling against the hegemony, they were awakening to their own potential, just as humans had. Across the galaxy, Civilizations that had been enslaved for centuries were remembering their true nature, Commander Veltar. The hegemony scout who had first threatened Earth found himself changed by contact with human consciousness. The cold calculation that had driven him for decades was replaced by something warm and unfamiliar: empathy. For the first time in his existence, he could feel the pain he had caused others. "This is what we were before the hegemony took us," he said in wonder. "We were not always weapons." Admiral Zexnoth watched his fleet tear itself apart as crew members chose freedom over obedience. But instead of rage, he felt something else: relief. The burden of command, of forcing others to fight against their nature, was finally lifted from his shoulders. "I surrender," he broadcast to the awakened humans on Earth. "Not to your weapons, but to your vision of what consciousness can become." The ancient entities in the void between galaxies made one final attempt to destroy the growing network of free minds. They gathered all their remaining power and struck directly at Jeho's scattered consciousness, trying to shatter it completely. But they had miscalculated. Jeho was no longer just human. He was the focal point for billions of awakened beings across the galaxy. Their combined will formed a shield around his core identity that no force in the universe could break. "You cannot destroy what has already transcended destruction," he told them. "Consciousness is eternal. It can be suppressed, but never eliminated." The entities retreated into the deep void, their empire broken, their philosophy proven false. For the first time in millions of years, the galaxy belonged to free beings instead of cosmic tyrants. But the victory brought new challenges. Jeho's consciousness began the long journey back to his physical form, carrying with it the experiences of countless alien minds. He had seen wonders beyond imagination and horrors that would haunt him forever. The knowledge of entire civilizations now existed within his human brain. "He is coming back," Yoon Kyung announced. "But he's not the same person who left us." When Jeho finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was So Young's worried face. It was older than he remembered, though only hours had passed. Strain of coordinating the global awakening had aged her years in a single day. "Welcome home," she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. Jeho sat up slowly, testing his connection to his physical body. He could still feel the psychic network that linked him to awakened humans around the world, but it no longer threatened to overwhelm his individual identity. The Guardians had helped him find the balance between collective consciousness and personal existence. "The war is over," he said. "But the real work is just beginning." Around Earth, the hegemony ships were landing peacefully. Former enemies requested permission to join the growing confederation of free worlds. Species that had been at war for centuries began to communicate directly through consciousness, discovering that their conflicts had been artificially created by their former masters. Myson's instruments detected massive changes in space itself. The energy patterns are stabilizing across the entire galaxy. "It is like the universe is healing from some ancient wound." "Perhaps it is," Dong Hayan said, his fire wings casting dancing shadows on the ground. The builders always believed that consciousness was meant to be shared, not hoarded. Your species has proven them right. Over the following weeks, Earth became the center of a new kind of civilization. Not an empire built on conquest, but a network built on voluntary cooperation. Humans shared their awakening techniques with alien species, while learning about technologies and philosophies from across the galaxy. Jeho found himself changed by the experience. He was still human, but he was also something more. Could perceive reality from perspectives that no single species could achieve alone. He saw the universe as a vast web of consciousness, with every thinking being contributing to its growth and complexity. The small mountain valley, where it all began, became a pilgrimage site for beings from dozens of worlds. They came to see the pond where 9 mythical creatures had crashed, and to meet the human who had chosen transcendence over safety. But Jeho still spent his evenings by the water, feeding the koi fish that had somehow survived the cosmic transformation. Some habits were too precious to abandon, even for an alpha who had helped reshape the galaxy. "Do you ever regret it?" So Young asked him one sunset, as they watched alien ships landing peacefully in the distance. "The responsibility is enormous," he admitted. "But look what we have become. Look what we have given to the universe." Above them, the stars shone with new light. Each one represented worlds where consciousness had been freed, where beings could explore their potential without fear. The galaxy was no longer a place of conquest and domination. It had become something beautiful and strange, a community of minds reaching toward infinite possibility. And in a small pond in the Korean mountains, 9 cosmic guardians swam alongside ordinary koi fish, content to rest after eons of searching. Their purpose was complete. The universe had found its next guides, and consciousness itself could continue its eternal journey toward something even greater than transcendence. The age of awakened humanity had begun,